Yeah, great. I think I'm very. Well, no.
Okay, we see after the Shemaya, I'm late today. So we did the Bes Yosef and the Darkei Moshe. So the Bes Yosef concludes that the Machlokes Rishonim, the definition of cooked food of goyim is not being eaten raw, and like what the Sugim Pumbedita says, that cannot be eaten raw and it goes on a table of kings. Or there's other reason, as the Bach says, he proves from Rashi in Ran, Rif, and Rashi, that they hold that kloyois, which are roasted up a minute because was not changed from the bria through the fire. So the eter of nan nishtane mi brioso through the fire stays lemaskona, which means even if it cannot be eaten raw, and even if it goes on shuchas melochim, it goes on tables of kings. But I'm reading now the Shach, which is printed in the papers. But before me, I'm going over what we learned. What we learned yesterday, the Bes Yosef, was that the Ran brought another third leg, what makes, instead of one mentioning Gemara, two things, which is which type of cooked food you're allowed to eat, which you can eat it raw. It doesn't go on tables of kings. But if you cannot eat it raw, or as important food, or both of them together as a simonim, that makes cooked food of goyim also. Okay? For example, let's take fruits. Fruits you can eat raw, right? A lot of the vegetables you can eat raw. A lot of the foods are not important food. The Gemara brings down small fish. It's not important food you put on tables of kings. Cheap food. Sheep's food, you're allowed to even though they're going to cook it.
That's who cooked the fish, even fish.
The Ran, he says, no. Even if it cannot be eaten raw, it is important food, but if it wasn't changed through the fire, as we mentioned, like kloyois, like chestnuts, right? Afunim is green peas, they bring down. All those things, the fire didn't change the format. After the fire, still green peas. After the fire, still corn. After the fire, it's still chestnuts. After the fire, it's still grains that have been dried by the heat. What? Vegetable soup. So vegetable soup, the cooking destroys the vegetables, changes it, starts melting, changes the format. But if you have a full vegetables in water and it's cooked, didn't change the format of the vegetable, according to the Ran, Rif, and Rashi, is not considered cooked food you're not to eat. Rambam says the same thing, but he says the different svara. Rambam says, why kloyos are permitted? Because you don't invite your friend on such things. And therefore, safunim, they bring down green peas, which you don't invite your friends on it. So then according to the Rambam, it should be permitted. We talked about the rice yesterday. Rice is something which goes on tables of kings, cannot be eaten raw. But you do invite your friend on it. It's a food that people sustain themselves. Steamed rice. People live on it. In the Far East, people eat that. They eat it for the breakfast, supper, lunch, and supper. Even breakfast, they eat it in China, those places. Whatever it is, like bread for them. It's like the thing that they live on. So those things, people invite their friends. Important food, cannot eat raw, and people live on it. But the fire didn't change the format. So according to Rashi, Ran and Riv will be permitted. According to Rambam, we also, and definitely according to other Rishonim, which we don't have this Yesoid, according to the Rashba and others that learn, as we saw in the Bes Yosef, they learn there's the only two parameters that makes cooked food also or mutter. It's only they cannot be eaten raw, and it goes on tables of kings. However, Rabbi Gavriel showed me yesterday the Kesef Mishnah that said, or Magi Mishnah, or no, who says it? I forgot who was it. One of them, the Foshim and the Rambam, Mishnah Melech, I forgot. That says that the Rambam learned that's what it means. Oila Shulchan Melochim. What does it mean? It goes on table of kings that you can invite your friend on it. The Rambam is not the way the Rambam represented the Rambam, as if the Rambam is learning. What? The Rambam says, "Lo yigozru alen she'en odo mazmin es chaver al hakloyos." This is the last one of the Rambam. So he's saying the Rambam didn't learn that there's a third barometer of nishtanahu, nishtanu b'riyos, that the fire changed the creation. The Rambam only learned oil shulchan melochim. What does it mean? Goes on tables of kings. You can invite your friend on it. Kings means that there's something important food. How do you define oil shulchan melochim? You can invite your friend on it. So therefore, the Rambam is not also learns the third barometer. Just defines it in the third barometer. No, that's what it means. Oil shulchan melochim. Okay, let's see the shach. Shach סימן קג'. Really, we need to see the Shulchan Aruch inside. I don't know why they didn't print it here. This is Shulchan Aruch Mechaber and Ramo, and then we have to see the Shach in Pri Chodosh and others inside. Not now. But yes, not now. That I'm going to go about. We're going to print. I'm going to go downstairs, give it to you to print. Shach, and he has many other things that he talks about, many other subjects. Shach סימן קג'. Kosa for Shulchan Aruch, the Shulchan Aruch wrote. Something that you cannot, you have the papers, something you cannot eat it raw. It goes on tables of kings, together with bread, or leparperet, or together with, how do you say parperet in English? Side dish. Oh, that's better. I like that. It's a good translation. You know why? Because side dish is undefined. What is a side dish? Okay, good. It could be anything. It could be anything, but it's not bread. It's side dish. It's good. That's a true translation here. That a goy cooked it. Afilu bekli Yisrael or base Yisrael, even a vessel of Jews that there's no bliois. In the house of Yisrael, there's no chash of putting Yisurim. Also, you're not allowed. Bishul of the because cooking of goyim. You're not allowed. Even if you have kli Yisrael, base Yisrael, there's no chash of isur. Still, there's a problem that since it's not eaten raw and you cannot go into Shulchan Melochim is also. So the Mechaber didn't mention the Ran, didn't mention a third condition. Midelo itna Mechaber, since the Mechaber didn't condition, she nishtanim b'riyos aldehu, that the cooked food has to be changed through fire. Alma! What do we see from the Mechaber according to the Shach? The Svira that he holds, afilu loy nishtane also, even the didn't change is also. Even didn't change. And like Ukedas HaRambam, Shibas Yosef, like the Rambam. The Rambam didn't mention a third barometer that makes, that tells you, defines what is Bishul Akum. No. It's only those two things. And what does it mean that you cannot invite your friend? It means En Oila Shulchan Melochim. Ukedas HaRambam, Shibas Yosef. V'chen Das HaRambam Darkei Moshe V'Teres Chatos. Klal Ainedi, there's also the Rav. Rav, who is the Rav? Is the Ramo. In his book, Darkei Moshe, which you read before, in Teres Chatos, he wrote the same thing. V'zedaitoi b'hago siv beis. The Ramo also expressed his opinion in siv beis of Shulchan Aruch. Shelo yitira afunim. The Ramo did not permit the green peas. Why? According to the Ran Rif and Rashi, we said that afunim didn't change the fire, didn't change the creation, should be permitted. And the Ramah did not permit it because it didn't change from his creation. Ela from a different reason. Ela mitam sheinom oil al shulchan melochim, that you don't invite your friend on this. Veloi mitam delo nishtana b'riyos, not because of the reason that didn't change its creation. Like the Ramo wrote in his books, comes the Shach, taram, taram, taram. And he says, although this is the Mechaber and Ramo, that's far in Ashkenazi, right? Aval nire ikor bashas. If you learn the Gemara well, you see clearly Ka'aran veRashi and we had the Rif. Then also, why didn't write the Rif? The Baruch. Ran and Rashi, why didn't you say the Rif? Why didn't you say the Rif? One second. Why didn't you mention the Rif he's saying? No, because it's not clear in the Rif. He didn't agree that it's a Rai. That's his. What? V'chenira das Rif later on. Okay. V'ka'aran veRashi. I wanted because we had a discussion. Is the Rai of the Rif is a good Rai because it's matin. He said the word matin. So what did he say? He says another line. Ka'aran veRashi then also Bishul with Gechovim. Only when it changed from its creation to fire. Perek Eilu Treifos Mozarua, Vechenir Da Sarif. Like the Ran says that's what it looks like in a reef. Vechenir Da Sravan, סימן שין גימל, מיהו? דעת שאר הפויסקים נראה דלחלק בזה. So what is the conclusion? If I ask you, what is the conclusion of the Shach? The Shach says that the Mechaber Ramo passing like a lot of poiskim that hold that there's no chiluk if nishtam b'yosad holo, and therefore, what? Yes, that the fire has to change its creation. They don't hold of that, and therefore afunim green peas we permitted not because it didn't change from fire. They didn't just create from fire. Rather, afunim because the people don't invite people on it. It's not the shulchan melochim. But I would say the nafkamina will be rice. So what is the Shach's opinion? The answer is the Shach holds ikar la'alocha. He says, nire ikar bashas. What is ikar bashas? He holds that when you learn the Gemara, it looks that the Ran and Rashi and Rif and Ran, that's the in the Ravan, that's the ikar there. That's nire ikar bashas. What is ikar bashas? That's the truth. It sounds a pshat amiti. So therefore, 1 second, stop for a second. So now, what is he? If the Shach holds that tzika loch, it means you have to worry for it. No, but he's saying normally if the mechaber and the Ramo paskin lekula, or they paskin one way, so you don't have to worry for the other opinions. But the Shach says no. A lot of poskim argue, and it looks to me that's the truth in the sugya. So therefore, what is he saying really? That this is the alibed halacha. For example, rice. Rice is something you cannot eat raw. You do invite people on it. But the fire didn't change it. What? Fire didn't change its creation. What? With water, but the rice doesn't crush. The rice doesn't melt and change. Only if you cook a long time. Or you what? If you smash it, yes, then it becomes the Bishul. But if you didn't smash it, the fire didn't change the creation. It's a permitted. Okay. let's see the Agois Oshri. Agois Oshri. No, he says about be'emes, but truly, nire iker b'shas. Truly looks the main in shas. That he holds that's a true that he when he learns the Gemara, he thinks the truth of the way you read the Gemara is like Ran and Rashi and Rif and Ravan. And the Gemara Bimele, that's the Gemara Bimele. That's you have to worry about halacha. The Gemara tells us with halacha. Right. So when the Poisek says that's the truth of the Gemara, so he tells you worry for it. This opinion is it's not something you don't worry about. Normally we have a mechaber and ramo, and some shittas argue we don't worry for it. That's because that's our law. That's what. But when the shach tells you, the other opinions are the main halacha, or the goyim Vilna says the equal halacha, that's the equal halacha. Good point. Good point. He argues on them. He argues on them, and he holds his equal halacha. They probably yes. Otherwise, no should bring it as an opinion to worry or deal with. He didn't. Let's see that Goyes Oshri, Perek Beis, Siman Chovches. Perek Beis, Siman Chovches.
Where is that on the sheet?
Brings down.
Where is that on the sheet?
Ashlokos, read Chovches in the Rosh. Perek Beis, Siman Chovches.
Not on the sheet?
Ashlokos, Omar Rabbi Shmuel, Bar Rav Yitzchok, Omar Rav, Kol Shenechal Kemo Shu Chai. Anything you can eat it raw, and Bishul Akum. There's no Bishul Akum. The Surah Matnu, in Surah they learned Ochi in such a way. There's an argument what Rav said. In Surah and Pubimita. Pubimita said no, Rav said something else. Kol Shen Oilach Shulchan Melochim, Laos Abbas, anything that doesn't go on tables of kings to escort the bread, and there's no Bishulim on it. My Benayu Ardi Vedogin Ktanim Edais. Rabbeinu Tam. Rabbeinu Tam used to say, you don't have a Gemara, Zev, look at it because it's important. Now we're coming to the final point. The Kaiman on Ketrelish Lokeil. The halacha is like those two lashonos to be lenient. Yes. What does that mean? It's the same thing. That what I have is, which means I don't need, which means if one of them doesn't exist, it's not Bishul Akum. In order to be Bishul Akum, has to be both. Cannot eat raw and has to be go on tables of kings. But let's say you cannot eat it raw, but it doesn't go on tables of kings. Or goes on tables of kings, but you can eat it raw, is mutor. We pass it like the true leshonos lahokei, to be lenient. Then also Bishul Kechovim, there was Isu Bishul Akum, Ela in Ken unless Oil Shulchan Melochim both. It goes on tables of king, and you can have it raw. It's the same thing. So we have Rabbeinu Tam, Rosh, Toisves, and Rosh. All of them bring the Rabbeinu Tam, and that's the halacha, and that's what Chaber and Ramo both says. That in order to be defined as cooked food of going not to eat, we are lenient like the two lashonos what Rav said, like Sur and Pubelisa. And also the Riv brings both. That in order for to be Bishul Akum has to be cannot eat raw and doesn't go on tables of kings. But if he can eat raw and it goes to the table of a king, it doesn't go on table of a king, but he cannot eat it raw, is mutor. Has to be told both cannot eat it raw and doesn't go on tables of king, only then is also. What? Not like the Ram. Not like the Rambam, the definition of Shulchan means you can invite your friends. No, it could be like the Rambam. V'digdik, what's the raya that we lean on both languages? I mean, the Nogan way Yikabenayu, the Gemara wrote Yikam, very strange Yikabenayu. Dvorim Shem Lechol Chaim, things, those small fish, you cannot eat a raw. V'enoy Shulchan Melochim, you cannot eat and you cannot eat it raw, and don't go on tables of king. The Leloshon Arishon Asurim, because you cannot eat it raw. Umutor L'Shashein, because the second language, since it doesn't go on Shulchan Melochim, it's permitted. but it's only one. Veloinoka didn't. The Gemara didn't write enough kamina. Dvorim shenecholim chaim, things they can eat raw. V'oil cheshrom, and it goes on tables of kings. And we say opposite the loima. The mutom lo sharishon, the first lo shebemid. V'asur lo shanachon, and there's also shmamino. The kaimon ketrishina lo. Because the Gemara only wrote one of kamina. That the first rishon is also loshan sheni muto. We didn't say opposite another nafkamina. Loshan rishon is muto. Loshan sheni also must be that the halach is like both loshan is lo. Okay. That's why the Gemara wasn't worried to say dvorim de lo maskina live ilchasa. That's why the Gemara mentioned things which are not halacha. Elaomar dvorim shulim loshan sheni. He only told us things that according to loshan sheni is muto, because as long as muto is allowed. But things that say opposite also Loshan Achoin, the Bo'oz Lazin Basrei, then we don't follow it. The Kimna Talmudo, the Gemara understood Loshan Sheni Bolohoisif, Loshan Rishon. The second Loshan comes to add Loshan Rishon, that another cooler, even according to Loshan Rishon, is also, once you have Loshan Sheni is permitted, means it's mutar. Since they didn't bring both nafkamina to opposites, only one side, that the Loshan Rishon is also Loshan Sheni is mutar, to tell you, as long as you have sameter of Loshan Sheni, it's still permitted. Even according to Loshan, because we learned that it's Bala Oisif Kula. Yeah, but they didn't say the dogim is cannot eat raw, but doesn't go on tables of kings. So it's also mitzad raw and permitted mitzad melochim. Why didn't say opposite on another nafkamina that is also the melochim? And why it must be the Gemara learned is kam leoisi, that as long according to the second lashon, it's permitted is two muto. It's kam lehakel. V'chen muchach lekamon the komar stomo the Talmud gabi dvash shel avikechovi. You follow this, Zev? V'chen muchach lekamon the komar stomo the Talmud gabi dvash shel avikechovi. The Gemara brings down what about honey of goyim? In Bishul of the Gerovim, if the goyim cooked the dvash, nera kemoshucha, you eat it raw. Rabbi Chon Sova, Kealish, the Rabbi Chon learns that it's permitted because of that. The Komal Kom Shmaiti, Kol Shu Kemachal Bedosoi, anything which is not totally cooked, third cook, and Bishul, there's no Bishul of goyim. The Kol Shu Kenol Moso, Shenechal Kemoshucha, is no Bishul. It's not bishul, we eat it raw. You didn't gain anything. But even if you did gain, we're more lenient because it doesn't go on tables of king, we mate. Yabeturmus und the Shalkel Kechom V'Achal Yisrael, Koma Rabbi Yochanan, the Leis Bishul Akum, Shul De'eno Shulchan Melochim. So we see the Gemara brings both svores by turmusin that the goyim cooked and Jew eats it. Rabbi Yochanan says no Bishul Akum must be. Because it is cooked, cannot eat raw, but it's not important food. It doesn't go on tables of kings. You don't invite people on it, etc. Okay. Maskona of the Rosh is what's important for us. Now let's see that goes to in a second. Maskona of the Rosh is that the two Lashonos of the Gemara, one adds on the other, which means the only way they prohibit when you have both, you don't have both. Cannot eat raw and doesn't go on and it goes on tables of kings. But if it's one of them doesn't fit the criteria, let's say can eat it raw, even though it goes on tables of kings, it's permitted. Doesn't go on table, it goes or you cannot eat it raw, but doesn't go on tables of kings, it's still permitted. No. We just see. First of all, we see from the Rosh that he didn't make a chiluk, he didn't write a third barometer. So the Rosh and all the Rosh and a lot of points, he didn't bring a third barometer. But since the Ran, Rif, Ravan, Rashi, and the Rif and the Shach holds that it looks to him the truth in the Gemara. That since the Gemara says with the Rabon v'asmachta, so the Posuk still exists, and he bought a raya from Kloyas, etc. So therefore, he looks to him that the third barometer we have a third svor lahokim, not two lahokim. In order to be bishul akum, has to be all three. Cannot eat raw, goes on tables of king, and the fire said changes creation. Whoa. So it's much more a lenient opinion, right?
What's the sword of Mekel?
He brought a raya that the Gemara held, the Gemara Kimul Talmud, the Gemara understood from the tradition that both tradition, what Rav said, they didn't argue. They didn't argue one another. Just the question was, they added a svara. Not only you know what makes Bishul Akum, not only if you cannot eat it raw, you also have to have that it goes on tables of king. That's what it means. You have to have both. As long as you have, if you don't have both, they're permitted. Let's see that goes so shli. What? One second. What is it?
By the old change the tzuma. They change the thing. We hold them. He also she doesn't know. He holds that or not. He also do lishnet.
Right.
What do you do about the maskon the Gemara that says the gabe koshlim shtar magis?
He doesn't bring that.
He
Doesn't go.
He holds
on the Chaber Ramo. Yes. Now, Reb Chaim asked me a question, and the answer I just read the Rosh. He brought a raya for it.
To the lesson of the Gemara, that's the raya.
Since the Gemara brought Ike Benayu only one way, not both ways, and the other eyes he brought from the Kamon, Gabi Dvash, and Gabi Shlokois, the Turmusin, understood that both reasons are there, and as long as one of them doesn't exist, it's not Bishul Akum. Okay. Comes the Agoy Soshrin, he says.
It says something.
I'm reading Agoy Soshrin. Shelakua Shloko, sorry. Shloko is the snap. Cooked food that we learned. Shelo Yisrael Rogil Etzlo Machal Mishte. The reason why not to eat Shloko is cooked food, that the Jew will not be accustomed drinking and eating with him. Ve'achilenu Dovortom will feed him in pure food. Ve'Rashbam Koso B'Shem Raboiso. The grandson of Rashi, you name of his rabbis. The Bishul of Kochon Nesam Shum Gzeira Shem Echenu of Kochon Dovortom. So we have Rashi and his grandson testifying that that's what his grandparents, his rabbis taught him. Because Rashbam was the grandson of Rashi, but he was being taught, his rabbi was Rashi. So he says, my rabbi taught me that you're not allowed to eat cooked food. Gzeira, he might feed you in pure food. Ilkach, therefore, Dovar HaMishtanim Ebriyos Adeu. Anything that the fire changes the creation. Baby Busholim doesn't matter if it's cooked with water. Ben Tzluim Ba'u is roasted, doesn't matter if it's roasted by fire. Asurim Mishum Bishul Akum, Inalaim Bishul Akum. Aval, but Bemidi something. Deloi Boshin Shaloi Nishtanim Ebriyosoi. Something that was not cooked, that the fire didn't change its creation. There's nothing more to worry that it will feed me impure food. Why? He says, Shoyonika will be recognized in the food. Wow. Comes that goes to Shri, and he says, you know why Rashi said, on no reason, you're not allowed to eat cooked food because he might eat you impure food. He came to tell you the third barometer. Rashi also he says, what type of food is considered cooked food? Bishul Akum, not only can I eat it raw. It's not enough that it's not goes on tables so you can invite your friends on it. It's not enough. You need also that the fire changes it. Why? Because if the fire doesn't change it, there's no two svaras of marriage. Rashi holds the Gzeira Vashlokas was, we talk two reasons. Marriage, and he might feed you impure food, and it's not recognized inside. What? And if you don't have the worry that it will feed you double tummy, because if it's a dish, all mixed up dish, the fire changes creation. So they say only God knows. He used to say only God knows what's in here, right? There's a famous joke. You eat some food, you know what it is. It says only God knows what it is. Hashem Yishmo, right? So then you worry maybe the guy who puts in pure food and will feed you because you don't know what's inside. Which means the reason why not eat cooked food is marriage. But Rashi added, and the Mishnah says marriage. The Gemara Rashi says Dover Tomeh, so or you retract from the Mishnah, possible, or at least he brought another reason that we each feed you Dover Tomeh. When you worry, you feed you Dover Tomeh only when the fire changes creation or what is inside. But if the fire didn't change creation, you do know what's inside. Don't worry that we need Dover Tomeh. I understand the same way you got it this time. I understand because asmachta. Since the Gemara said in the beginning, Nishtan Na'ur is the Doraisa, and the Gemara didn't change, the Gemara stayed with it, and the Gemara said, Terabon v'asmachta. So since the Gzeira, you need the fire to change, what's Rashi understood? What's the Svora need the fire to change? And you worry what's inside, and you don't recognize what's inside. We don't know. We don't know if Rashi Mishnah is erased. There's only Havamina, or Rashi Mishnah stays and he brings another reason. So, and Rashi defines. First of all, Rashi understood that the reason of Nishtan and B'riyos stays lemaskona because asmachta. And what's Pshat Nishtan? Why do I need to change from his creation? Because then I worry that I don't know what's inside. It will feed me double dome. But if I know what's inside, the thing is whole. I have a whole grain. I have a whole chestnut. I have a whole green piece. I see what it is. There's no worry that will feed me double dome. No. Shimri also is, according to the way the Rashbam and the Agoy Shoshi learns, is a pshat of Dovel Tomeh. So now we have the Agoy Shoshi. So until now we learned that it's not enough that it's not eaten raw. It's not enough that it goes on tables of kings. You also have to have the fire change. Why? We didn't know why. Another barometer. Now we're saying a svara. Because if the fire didn't change it, you worry double tummy. If the fire changed, you worry for double tummy inside. But if the fire didn't change, there's no way of double tummy. So it's not enough of a reason to gzeir on shlokas. Comes the Agoy Soshri. So everything changed. He just gave us a small ador, okay?
Why can't you say that the shinui of the briyoso is mekayim the das? The shinui is not.
That's what I thought in the beginning before I saw the Agoy Soshri. The change also means is we said cheer to the chef. Made a change. Wow. And we also you give him a cheer, you give him a clap, you value. But in general, there's no value. So which type of food? The value is the fire change. Now we're saying svora no. The Agoy Soshri says svora because when it changes the brioso, you worry for double tummy. Don't know. But that's what we have. I didn't learn like him, but that's what we have. We have a Agoy Soshri. V'yesh li lilmod mitvorov. Comes the Agoy Soshri says, I can learn from the words of Rashi and Rashbam. Also, compost. You know what's compost? Compote. You know what's compote? Jelly. They take fruits and they fire it and it becomes jelly. Shaloi v'kochovi v'goy loisom gal yu tiny. Sheyadua, it's known. She'noisim yain v'chometz. They don't put any wine and vinegar inside. Kemo bazeh amalchus, like in this kingdom. Shemevash limoisom, they cook them and they sell them on railings in the streets. They put them on wheels and little things that sell it in the markets. Shemutorin are permitted. Why? Because you can recognize what's inside. So probably compost, not a jelly. But they take fruits and they cook it and still stay whole. Yes, it must be that they're whole, which means it cannot eat it raw maybe, or is a good, important food. But since you can recognize what's inside, so the fire didn't change its creation, so therefore there's no gzeira that's permitted. I don't know what's composed, but he says seems to be That is not a shinu. If it was a shinu, it should be also. It says it's muto. No, yadua, there's a side problem. What about oil? What about liquid? So he says they don't put oil in wine and vinegar. But the shaila is to put other things inside. It says permitted. No.
Even if you can't see it. But if you do it, we know we don't put it inside. The time is not there. Even if it's not Yikar, we know.
So maybe, okay. Maybe he says, I don't know what it is. I only can make it up. Yadua, it's a side point, or Yadua is the point. If Yadua is the point, like you're just learning, so B is campus, it is like a jelly. Jam is jam. But it's permitted because since it's known, the only reason why if the fire change and you don't know what's inside, but if it's a general knowledge that you know, don't put anything inside in this kingdom, in this whole country, maybe you're allowed to eat it. There's no time of ease. Okay. You have to see the Pri Chodosh. The Pri Chodosh. In the sheets, which we didn't learn it today, we'll learn it tomorrow. And I will try to print the Shulchan Aruch today. Okay? And we gave out the Minchas Yitzchok too. The people have the time, say the Minchas Yitzchok. So it's important too. We're going to try to see it tomorrow too. Yes, what do you want to say? Yeah.
I don't know why you say you can put it in jelly. It's juice.
I don't know what it is. I just made it up. I know in Hebrew they say kampot is a jelly. It's after the end of the food. You take fruits, you cook it, and it becomes like kind of a food that we eat after the food. In Hebrew, today in our language, I don't know. 700 years ago, what does that mean? I don't know. So I made it up. I said I made it up. I don't know.
In America, it doesn't get like jelly. It just gets a little bit
Right.
together.
Okay. If it didn't get jelly, so then there's no problem altogether. If it didn't get jelly, so the problem, and the answer is, since we know nothing is inside, so there's nothing more to worry, because you know what's in it. You know there's nothing inside. Maybe that's what he wants to say. It's not clear then. Okay. Rabbi Hanania ben Akash Yoim. Or it's like in his book when it's like it's on the picture.